What is the difference? Laminar and turbulent flow. How we can differentiate? Any student?
Hello, doctor.
Difference between laminar and turbulent flow?
The way the fluid move.
Fluid?
For laminar, there's no intermix.
Okay, yes.
Doctor, the laminar fluid don't mix together, but
Okay.
the
And
turbulent they mix
turbulent-
together.
Why they're mixing?
The direction parallel to each other.
Okay, good. So now this one is the definition how fluids can move. But question is, as a chemical engineer, which fluid we like? Which one we like more? Which one is preferable?
Laminar.
Laminar we like. Why?
Velocity doesn't change.
We don't want the velocity to be changed. So in laminar and turbulent flow, both have the same velocity. Velocity did not change. Velocity is constant. For example, this is V1, this is the V2. Maybe V2 is higher than V1, but the velocity is constant through the flow. Maybe the overall velocity is different. A fluid flow is different, but the velocity is constant. Maybe V2 is, for example, 200 and V1 is, for example, 100. So which one we like? 200 or 100? Which one we like? Which is preferable, 200 or 100? My friend, which one? Can you answer? Just any answer, no problem.
The slow one.
So actually, if you have the 200, V2 or V1, it depends on the system, which one we want actually. We cannot, for example, if we can increase velocity from V1 to V2, for example, 100 to 200, maybe fluid become laminar to turbulent flow is okay. But maybe V200 is our requirement. If we reduce our velocity below 200, maybe we cannot get our target. A fluid cannot reach to the destination. Why we need velocity? Because we want to transport fluid from one point to another. If we reduce velocity, maybe it cannot reach to the destination. So, but at the same time, we know how much pressure drop, because if there is increase of velocity, there will be more pressure drop. Why more pressure drop? Because there will be more turbulent flow, more mixing together. So difficult to flow. So if there is more pressure drop, then we have to calculate how much pressure drop. So this all actually we will discuss in, I think, in the chapter 3. Is it okay? Okay. Another question is, okay, force flow and natural flow. What is the difference between force and natural? And which one is normally used as in industry as a chemical engineer? Which one? Force flow or natural flow?
Force flow.
Force flow.
Force flow.
Why?
Forced flow used
Why we want force
mostly.
flow?
So we can control the velocity.
We can control the velocity.
Can control the flow of the fluid.
We can control the
flow of the fluid.
Okay. Okay. An example of the natural flow is, for example, you have the one container, and then you have the another container. If they are at different height, maybe liquid will flow from one container to another container. So this one is due to how they will flow due to difference in height.
Mm,
Difference in height or difference due to the force of gravity. Because this liquid is the container number 1 is at upper height and this is lower. So due to difference in height, the fluid will flow. Another example is we want to transfer fluid from the container number 2 to container number 1. How we can transport from number 2 to number 1?
by using pump.
Some type of the pump. So we need some external force to flow. In 1 to 2 we need any force. Okay, another example is normally in the industry you have the cooling fan or you have the cooling tower. In cooling tower you need some type of the to cool the to reduce the water temperature. So how you can do? You have to use some type of the fans. So what the benefit of fan? If you have the fans in cooling tower, what will happen?
Go faster.
It will drag the air.
Yes, it can drag the air. It can force the air. When there is a force flow, it can remove the hot temperature and it can force the cold air and it can reduce the temperature of the water or any other system. This is the example of your car engine. In your car engine, there are the fan at the front. That is what type of the flow?
Force flow.
Force flow, because you have to cool down your car. You have to cool the engine temperature. So that's why there is a very big fan, and that is the air, cold air goes to the engine and then it can cool down. So there is one also circulation of the water in the engine. Have you seen there is a one condenser, so it can cool down the temperature. And because the water is circulating inside the car engine and then water is cooled by the air, that is also forced flow. So normally in industry we use force flow, because if you use natural flow it will take very long time to cool down. It is uncontrolled flow. Uncontrolled, we as engineer we don't want uncontrolled. So you can easily control your temperature, your flow when you have some system to control. That is the force. You can force by yourself, by external means. Maybe you have the fans, you have the pumps. So normally the most beneficial is the force flow, because it can increase the speed of the system or can increase the cooling or heating. Okay, we have another here. What is difference in steady and unsteady? Steady and unsteady. So this steady and unsteady is dependent on what?
Really depend on time.
Dependent on the time. If their system is constant with time, we can say it's steady. If, for example, their speed is going to change with time, we can say unsteady. Means most of the systems are steady and some systems are also unsteady. So it depends on the type of the system. So this one, 1, 2, and 3 dimensional we discuss later on. This is don't worry. This is actually, this figure is also from the copy of the chapter 3. So system and surrounding and boundary. Which one is more important? System, surrounding, or boundary? Which one is more important?
System.
All
System.
are important.
All are important? System, surrounding, or boundary? Which one more important?
System.
System is the most.
Actually, system is important because we have to investigate the system, not the surrounding. So because all the observations, all the calculations, we have to select a system. So once you have the system, of course, automatically you have to be focused on the surrounding. Boundary is important once you define your system, because the boundary have the interaction between the system and the surrounding. This is the very example is, if you have the, for example, if you have the system, you have the hot body and outside is cold. What will happen? If inside is hot and outside is cold, what will happen?
Transfer in heat.
Heat transfer. Sure, there will be heat transfer.
Yes.
I said no. Then
Yes.
it depend on
The boundary.
the boundary. Yes, it means the boundary is also important after you are defining the system and surrounding. For example, if this boundary is non-conductor insulator, so heat cannot transfer from hot body to cold body. So heat cannot transfer from the system to surrounding. If this boundary is very conductive, this heat can easily transfer from the system to surrounding. So it means system is of course important, but at the same time, system has the boundary as the intermediate between the system and surrounding. So once you define your system, at the same time you can define your the surrounding. If for example, if surrounding is hot and system is cold, what will happen? This one is surrounding is hot and system is cold, what will happen?
Heat transfer from surrounding to system.
See, heat will transfer, but depend on the
Depend on the boundary.
Depend on the boundary. So it's okay. So this is how we can define the boundary. And then this open system, closed system, different type of the systems. Of course, units already we discussed, they are very important. Have you go to example 1, 2, and 3? 2, 3, and 4? Have you go through the examples or not so far? No, eh?
Oh, yes, sir.
Okay, so you still you have time, eh? Still the beginning you have to go through all the example or all the homework, because maybe today I will define your class groups, then after that I will give any homework activity. So firstly I have to finalize the groups. I think you already finalized your sections, you already have the registration and everything. Maybe by today I will finalize your groups, then you can have the homework activities. Okay, this is all about chapter 1. Now we will move to chapter okay, chapter again, eh? Can you see chapter 2?
Yes, doctor.
Yes.
Okay, so now we are going to start our chapter 2. So chapter 2 chapter 2 is the same like chapter 1. This is some basic definitions. So in chapter 2 we are going to discuss the properties of fluid. When we talk about properties, it means anything that can be used to investigate the fluid is the property. For example, how many properties of the fluids? Maybe fluid has the density, fluid has the viscosity, fluid has the density, how fluid can flow, resistance to flow. So anything related to the fluid understanding, basic understanding. If you have, for example, if you have container. Okay, for example, you have the one container and other container. In one container, you have the gas, and other container you have the liquid. How you can identify which one is gas and which one is liquid, and how they are different to each other? How you can differentiate between the liquid and gas based on their properties? Of course, they have these certain properties. When we talk about the fluid, that is maybe liquid and gas. Or any things that can flow under force is also called a fluid. So okay. So when we talk about the properties, so we have to can go for intensive and extensive properties: density, specific gravity, vapor pressure and boiling point, energy, specific heat, compressibility and viscosity, surface tension and capillary rise, pressure. Actually, all these are the basic properties of any fluid. So you have to remember all these properties just this is actually just for your general information. You must have to know about how we can understand a fluid based on their properties, or how we can differentiate one fluid behavior from the other based on their properties. Okay, so basically how we can define a property. So property is actually any characteristics of a system. Characteristics of a system. Remember, before this we have discussed the system. System has the closed boundary and has the surrounding. So the characteristics of that system is the property of the fluid. Of course, inside the system, if there may be a fluid, because we are talking about the fluids. Actually, the system can be anything, not only the fluid, but because we are talking about the properties of the fluid, so in this case, we can say the characteristics of a system that has a fluid. So the more important or well-known properties, for example, if you have this is, for example, you have the closed vessel. This is a closed container, and inside container, for example, you have the water, just for example. So this is the closed container that has the water. So when you have the closed container, this become a system. So this system has the water, and water has the characteristics, has the properties. What should be the properties of this water? For example, this water has the mass, this water has the volume, has the temperature, has the pressure, and then has the density. Maybe because this is the static, then all these properties can exist at any time. So then we can say all these are the properties of a system, and that system has a fluid. For example, we can say water, or maybe this system has a gas. If this one has a gas, then all properties should be there, but maybe their values will be different. For example, the gas mass is different, density is different, and maybe you have the oil, or we can say maybe you have the honey. So now you can say if same container, you have the same container, but same container has the any type of the fluid, how we can differentiate? Is there a honey, water, gas, or oil? All these fluids characteristics inside the system is the definition of the properties, and that properties, if we know, we can differentiate what type of this fluid is, or how their characteristics or the behaviors are different. So now we can classify the properties of the fluid. That is called two types. Number one is intensive property, and number two is extensive. So difference is in and ex in and x, intensive, extensive. So how we can define intensive properties? The properties that are independent of the mass of a system, independent of the mass. Mass of the system means if your system is very small, or your system has very big size, or maybe you have the mass is 1 kg, or maybe mass is 5 kg, does not means no relation. The system that is independent of the mass of a system, that is called intensive property. Example is temperature. So temperature, for example, if you have the 1 kg of water, temperature is the same. If you have the 5 kilogram of water, the temperature is the same. So it means temperature is independent of the size of the system or the volume of the system. Similarly, pressure is independent, and the density. These are all independent on the size of the system or the mass of the system. Okay, so it means when the properties are independent on the size of the, so another example is maybe, okay, temperature is independent, pressure is independent, density is independent. So all these are independent on the size of the system, because the temperature, if we have 1 kiloliter, 10 liter, 20 liter, maybe the same water, same temperatures. Okay. Now you have the another example, extensive property. Extensive that are dependent on the size of the system or the mass of the system or the extent of the system. For example, total mass, you have the total mass, you have the total volume, and then other is specific properties. Specific means that dependent on the unit mass or unit volume. So it means extensive properties per unit mass. For example, specific volume, volume over the mass. Specific energy, energy over the mass. So they are dependent on unit mass. So they are called the specific properties. So it means firstly you know the intensive or extensive properties. Later on you can define the specific properties. So example of some specific property we will discuss in this chapter also. So now we have the some discussion about the basic definition of the fluid properties. This is the same. For example, number one is the pressure. What is the pressure? Pressure is normally we can say is there is the sometimes you feel some pressure or you say oh there is a pressure, but the definition is pressure is actually a force. Pressure is a force, but this force is should be exerted on or by a fluid on a unit on a specific surface area or the unit surface area. So it means when you define pressure, pressure is nothing but this one is a force per unit area, specific area. For example, if the force is Newton, then the area is meter square. The example is if U1 is this is a force, this is the force, and this is the area. So this force will be force over area. An example is here, this you see this block is very big size. This one, the force is this one, but the area is only this one. Remember, this is the area, only this small size area, not this. You will calculate this total area. Force on unit area. So this is the area, and this one is the force on unit area is the pressure. So specific area, not you have to consider the total area of the system, a total area. You have to consider on what area the force is exerted, that is the pressure. So for example, if you have this block, if force is here, then you have to calculate only this area. If the force is here, you have to calculate this area only, but you cannot calculate this total area. So maybe this one is P1 and this one is P2. So both maybe they have the different pressures depending on the force and area. So it means force per unit area we call is a, so maybe this one is area A1, then area A2. So depending on the force and area, the pressure can be changed. This is the example another. So for example, you have the area here 0.1 cubic meter and the weight is 100 Newton. So the definition is force over area. So if you can divide 100 over 0.1, so this is like this one, 100 over 0.1. So you will get this pressure that become equal to 1000. So this is how we can say. So for example, now you see here, this area is going to change. Here area is 0.1, this is the total area, here is the total area is this one. But now the area is going to change, reduce to 0.01 meters square. So area is going to change. So when there is a small area, the pressure is going to increase. So it means if there is a same force, 1000 Newton, 100 Newton, but the area is going to reduce, it means pressure is going to increase because this is division. So it means per unit area, if you are going to increase, pressure will reduce. If your pressure is going to increase, area should be minimum. This is how we can define area, force per unit area. So then we have the density. So density is the similar to the pressure. Density is the mass over volume. So once you know the mass, total mass, then the total volume, we can calculate the density. That is formulas M over V. Every time you use this formula to calculate the density. We also know ideal gas equation PV is equal to mRT. So if you can use this relation here, M over V is rho, then this should become equal to P is equal to rho RT, or you can say rho is equal to P over RT. So it means density is dependent on the pressure and temperature. So when you can increase the pressure, density will increase because this one is a direct relation. But when you can increase the temperature, density will decrease because this is an indirect relation. So then we can say the density is dependent on pressure and temperature, or we can say density is dependent on the mass and volume of the system. So anyway, you can define. If this is a gaseous system, then we can say the density can be decreased by increasing temperature, or density can be increased with increasing the pressure. So we can say for relative density to the pressure and temperature for many gases under normal conditions. So this is the model. This equation is called the model for density relation at different temperature and pressure for the gases. Okay. So this is the example of the density. You see here, there are the two blocks. One is the block is density is mass over volume. As we know, density is the mass over volume. You see here, this block, the volume is the same. Here the volume is the same, but the mass of this block is different. Here you see only there are the few balls. So means volume is more and mass is less. So density of this block is low. But if you add more blocks, more balls inside, the volume is the constant, but the density is going to increase because the mass is going to increase. That's why this has high density, this one is the low density. So it means density can be increased if you can increase the mass at the same volume. So another example is, you see here, this is one block, this is another block, and this is the number third block. You see, this block is at the top surface of the bottom. This block is little bit sink inside the water, and this block is totally sink inside the water. So the question is, which block has the more density? If block has the more density, block will sink inside the water. So it means the heavier block has the more density because it has the more mass. So it means the block number third, this one is the highest density because it sink inside the water. So it means density also define your system will sink or will float inside the water, inside the liquid. So this is the very light block. They have the same volume, but this one is the low mass. So its density is lower than water, it can float. So density also defined, it lower than water or higher than water. If density is lower than water, it will float. If density is higher than water, it will sink inside the water. So this is another example. So density here, the volume is the same, but the few tablets here is the more tablet, it means the density of this block is higher. So its density means the mass that can occupy a specific volume, and a body with higher density than water can sink inside the water because this volume is lower and mass is more. So then specific volume is the Example of the specific volume is the volume over mass. This is opposite to density. So specific volume is opposite to density, 1 over rho. So you see here specific volume. So you see here, if you press this one, you see the dense volume is going to decrease, and here volume is more. If you have the higher volume, specific volume is higher with the same mass. If you have the lower volume, the specific volume is going to decrease. Or you can say they have the inversely relation. Volume has opposite to specific volume is the opposite to density. So this is the same definition what we discussed before this. So we have just the 2-minute break because time is over. Then we will come back again. So okay, welcome back, Am. So we can start again. So we are talking about the specific volume. Specific volume, as we discussed before this, is dependent on the volume of the vessel and the mass of the inside the vessel. So we can see here, specific volume has the relation with the density, 1 over rho. So it means you see here, if you can force this block down, what will happen? The volume will reduce. So here you see volume is this one. Volume will reduce, and the mass is the same. What will happen? The specific volume will reduce, or we can say the density has the opposite to the specific volume. So what is actually happening? We can see before this in previous slide, density is dependent on temperature and pressure. Density is dependent on temperature and pressure. Or we can say density of most of the gases are proportional to the pressure and inversely proportional to the temperature. So this one is what we have discussed before this, because the density is like this one. Density is directly proportional to pressure and inversely proportional to the temperature. So it means how we can define, if we have to have the specific volume, we can get the same information, or we have the density, we can get the same information. For example, if we have the gases, and if we have to know what will happen, if we can increase the pressure, when we increase the pressure, density will increase. When we increase the pressure, density will increase, but specific volume will decrease. The example is here. Here, when we increase the pressure, when we apply more force, what will happen? The volume is going to decrease. So we can say here, the density is going to increase, or specific volume is going to decrease. Another example is, we see in next slide. So we can see here, okay, now you see here, what will happen to the specific volume? Because specific volume is the relation of RT over P. Before this, we discussed the density has the relation of P over T, or you can see P over RT. When we can increase temperature, when we increase the temperature, density is going to decrease. For example, you see here, if we can, this is our system. If we can heat up this one from volume V1 to volume V2, what will happen? The volume is going to increase and density is going to decrease, because when we add temperature, the temperature will increase. When the temperature is increased, the volume will also increase. When volume increase, density is going to decrease, because density has the inversely proportional relation. But if you look into specific volume has the direct relation with the temperature. So when we can increase the temperature, the specific volume will also increase, and when we increase the pressure, specific volume will decrease. So we can say they have the relation of the specific volume and density is inverse. So they have the opposite relation. So if it means, if you can say the V is specific volume is 10 and specific volume is 20. So it means which one is higher density? So if one system had a specific volume 10, another system had a specific volume 20, if we want to know which one is higher density, so we can simply say any system which one has lower volume has higher density. So we can say here rho 1 is greater than rho 2, because when we will divide 1 over 10, this is the example is 1 over 10 is greater than 1 over 20. So this is how we can say the density, if lower specific volume is higher density, higher specific volume has lower density. So now we have another terminology, very, very important. This one you will use more of the time in your other chapters. So you have to be very clear with this one. Specific gravity. Specific gravity has the relation of density over density of the water at standard conditions. So how we can define this specific gravity? The density of a substance given in relation to the density of a well-known substance. So remember here, this is a relation. Specific gravity is a relation. Specific gravity is a relation between the two densities. This is the rho over rho. What are the units of specific gravity? No units. Specific gravity has the no units, because this is the ratio. Ratio never has any units. So specific gravity may be greater than 1 or may be less than 1. So specific gravity may be greater than 1 or maybe less than 1. So maybe this one is equal to 0.1, or maybe this one is 0.9, or maybe this one is 0.2, or maybe this one is 1.5. Okay, so depend on this ratio. For what is the density here? Density of a specific density of a relation. So this is the density of the fluid. At the top is density of the fluid. Any fluid that is under consideration. For example, in your system, you have the system. Inside the system, you have the fluid. That fluid, density of the fluid. Over density, here is the density of a well-known substance. Remember, well-known. That has the relation or under relation you have to measure. For example, well-known substance normally we take as the water, but not all the time we are using the water, but most of the cases we are using the water as a well-known substance. Now, for example, the density of any substance is equal to 1 and density of the water is equal to 1, then the ratio should be equal to 1. So it means when the specific gravity is 1, we can say density of the fluid and density of the water both have similar. They have the same density. If the density of the fluid is less than 1 and density of the water is greater than 1, so this will become less than 1. So if the density of the fluid is greater than 1 or greater than water, then this become the specific gravity greater than 1, but they have no units. So for example, you see here, density of the water at 4 degrees centigrade is 999 kilogram per meter cube. For normally we use at 1000, not 999. We consider if not given, we use 1000 kilogram per meter cube. So this is the density of the water. If you look to this table, this is at 0 degrees centigrade. They are the specific gravities of some fluids. So specific gravity of the water is 1. Why specific gravity of water is 1? Because the given fluid is water, the reference fluid is also water. So means water over water, both have to be density equal to 1. Blood density is 1.05. This means blood is heavier than water because its specific gravity is greater than 1. So means specific gravity help us to know fluid is heavier than water or lighter than water. So that way it can float or it can sink inside the water. So it means blood can have the density greater than 1. Seawater density is also greater than 1. Gasoline density is less than 1. It means if here you have the density of the gasoline, if you can define here, how we can define this one? You have the density of the gasoline and then you have the density of water. If you can divide both together, the value is less than 1. It means the density of gasoline is less than 1 and you can get it. So that's the reason when you can put gasoline oil inside the water, it will float. It can never sink inside the water. Mercury, wow, mercury density is much greater than the density of water. That's why the specific gravity is much higher. So okay, gold, very heavy. Ice, very heavy. Air, very light. Ice is okay. Here is ice not heavy. Ice density is also less than water. Remember, ice looks like the solid. If you have the ice block, it looks like the solid and very heavy, but the specific gravity of ice is less than 1. It means the density of ice is less than 1. So ice is lighter than the water according to this table at 0 degrees centigrade. Now, why we want to calculate the specific gravity? Specific gravity gives us information about the density. For example, specific gravity is given is, I said specific gravity given is, for example, 0.7. Specific gravity is given 7.0. In your calculation later on, maybe only specific gravity is given. So specific gravity of oil, this is specific gravity of oil is given 7.0, 0.7. So if the density is not given or you want to know this oil is lighter or heavier than water, just you can calculate the density of this oil. How you can density of this oil? Very simple. You can multiply this specific gravity with the density of water. Because this one is the density of water multiplied by specific gravity, you will get the density of oil. So it means in this table, this specific gravity is given. Based on this specific gravity, you can calculate the density of any of the fluid. For example, if you want to calculate the density of seawater, just you can multiply with the density of the water, that is equal to 1. If you want to calculate density of blood, just multiply with the specific gravity of water. You multiply with the density of water, that is equal to maybe 999 or maybe equal to 1, depend on the units. Wood, if you want to know the density of the wood, you have to multiply specific gravity here. Density of the mercury multiply with the specific gravity, that is, for example, if we know 1000 or 1. So this is how we can how we can calculate the density from specific gravity, or how we can calculate specific gravity from the density of water. So this is the relation. Actually, specific gravity just gave us a relation between the two fluids that can be used to calculate the density, or to know the which fluid is more heavier and which one is the lighter. So, okay, one thing more important here is you have to define a specific temperature. Remember, if the temperature, you have to consider the same temperature, specific temperature. That's, for example, if you are using the water temperature 400 degrees centigrade, then you also have to use here 4 degrees centigrade. If you're using 0 degrees centigrade, then you have to calculate the 0 degrees centigrade. So you cannot divide or take this ratio at different temperature. You have to use the same temperature to calculate the specific gravity, or you have to calculate the density. So now we have the example here. You have the wood. Here we have the wood. We have the ice, and we have the iron. Now my question is, which one will sink inside the water and which one will float? You see here, benchmark is, for example, water. Water specific gravity is equal to 1. Okay. Now we see from the previous table, what dense specific gravity is less than 1. What specific gravity is less than 1? Because the what specific gravity is less than 1, it will float at the surface of the water and cannot sink inside the water. So it means specific gravity of less than 1, it can float at the surface of the water. So it means this is indication where the help of specific gravity, you can say which substance will float and which one will sink. Another example is iron block. Iron block specific gravity from the previous table, you see this greater than 1. Any substance with a specific gravity greater than 1 will sink into the water. So very important is you have to know specific gravity greater than 1 or less than 1. If, for example, ice specific gravity is slightly less than 1. So it means that's why you see when you put ice inside the water, it cannot sink totally, but it can float somewhere inside the water, because the specific gravity is near about water or less than 1. So that's why it can sink slightly inside the water, or maybe just near the surface of the water. But sometimes it can also go inside the water. If a heavy block, it can sink inside the water. Okay. Now we can see how we can calculate the density of unknown substance. For example, specific gravity is equal to density of the object and density of the water. So if you have to calculate, if the density is given, density of water is already, for example, density is equal to 1, then we can calculate the density of the object. Just you have to multiply this one with this one, you can get x. For example, if the density of the water is 1, if you have any other units, then you will get the same value here, the same units here. So this is how we can calculate the density based on specific gravity. Next, we have the specific weight. Specific weight has the same relations. Specific weight is the weight over volume. Weight per unit volume of a substance is called the specific weight. So specific weight is defined like this one. This is like a gamma symbol. So this is equal to rho and g. Because the density is, we know density is equal to mass over volume. Density is mass over volume. So it means mass over volume. But here you have the weight, and we know W is equal to, we already know W is equal to mg. Mg. If you replace this m, if you see here W is equal to mg, then you can see the specific weight is the weight per unit volume. So weight per unit volume. So weight over volume, this is equal to weight over volume, and the weight is equal to mg. Then you can make correlate between these equations. Finally, you will get equal to rho g, because m over v is equal to, so this will be equal to, so if you can replace here, this should be mg over v, and m over v should be density, then this will become rho and g. So this is how we can define, because we already know the relation of the density m over v, and w is equal to mg, because, or we can say m is equal to w is equal to mg, and m is equal to w, m is equal to w over g. So from this relation, you just replace this one, then we can get here, we can get here the relation that is equal to, like this one, rho and g. So this is actually also, if you want to calculate the specific weight of any substance, just you can calculate the density and you can multiply with the value of g. So value of g is normally different units, 32.2 or maybe 9.81 meter per second square. So this one, any of you can use, depend on the System International or a British system. Okay, then we have the, so now you have the summary of all these units, all these fundamental units. We already know density is the mass over volume. Specific volume is the volume over mass, or they have the specific volume has the 1 over density. Specific weight is the density over multiplied by the gravitational force, g. Specific gravity is the density of a substance or object over the density of water. So then we have already discussed this table, how they have the correlation. So you see here, if you just can simplify here, finally, if you want to calculate the density, specific gravity, so specific gravity has the relation with the density here, density has the relation here, and this density has the relation here. You see, they all have the interconnected together. So it means the more important in all is the density, mass and volume. So all have the interconnected with the mass and volume. If you know the mass and volume, for example, you see here, if you know the mass and volume, you can calculate density or you can calculate specific volume. So even for to calculate the specific gravity, you have to know the mass over volume. If you want to calculate the specific weight, you have to know the mass and volume, specific volume, even mass and volume, density also relation with the mass and volume. So everything has independent of the mass and volume, because you have the closed system, and in closed system, the what immediate information available is the mass and volume of this system is available. Because in this closed system, you have the information about the mass and volume. Based on mass and volume, you can calculate all other properties. So now you have some just more relations. For example, in this case, we have the discussion about the density of ideal gases. Why we are talking about the density again and again? Because the density is very, very important. Density has the relation with the temperature. Density can be changed with the pressure. So when we talk about the density, it means we have to immediately discuss about the equation of state. Equation of state is dependent on pressure and temperature. This is the equation of state, or ideal gas equation. This ideal gas equation is PV is equal to, actually this should be MRT, for example. PV is equal to MRT, M is unit, then M is equal to 1. So we know density is equal to mass over volume. So rho is equal to M over V. Then this one is the PV is equal to rho RT or MRT, both we can use. So it means when we are the gases, this equation is very important. To calculate the behavior of any gas in a closed system, we have to know information about the density, about the temperature and pressure. So we can use this relation here. Sometimes we, instead of mass, we can also use the volume of this, the number of moles, not only the mass. So it means the relation can be PV is equal to MRT or PV is equal to nRT. When this, so this temperature is very, here is the temperature. The units of this temperature are very important. We can use the Kelvin units, or we can use the Rankine units. So units you have to consider the same throughout all the calculations. So if there is a Kelvin units, you have to use Kelvin for all the calculations. But if the units given are not the Kelvin, you can convert into Kelvin with the given relations. For example, if the degree centigrade is given, for example, you have the given is 10 degrees centigrade. How you can convert this 10 degrees centigrade into Kelvin? You can add up with 273.15 Kelvin. This become equal to the degrees, the Kelvin, or you can use this relation TR over 1. This is the temperature of the Rankine. So how you can calculate TR? For TR, if the TR you will use when the degree for example, if you have the 50 degree Fahrenheit, if degree Fahrenheit is given, you have to multiply with, add up with the Fahrenheit for 59.69, then you will get the Kelvin. So these are relations you have to remember, or you just can have to highlight, and later on when you have the problem, you have to use these equations, and then you can solve your problem. Okay, so this one is the example now. The example is the 2.1 of the chapter. Density, specific gravity, and mass of air in a room. So this room is our closed system. This is our room is closed system. So this room has the, of course, this room has the volume, this room has the temperature, and this room has the pressure. For example, in this room, what information is given? The dimensions are given: 4 meter, 4 meter, 4 meter, 5 meter, 6 meter, 5 meter. So with this one, we can calculate the volume. So it means, for you remember, for all the calculation, we are looking for volume and mass of the system. So question is to calculate the density. We know the equation before this. The ideal gas equation is rho is equal to P over RT. Pressure is given 100 kilopascal. Temperature is given. You have to convert this temperature to degree Kelvin, the Kelvin. So this one, how you can just you can add up with 273.15. This become Kelvin. R is given. These units of R are here. Gas constant in Kelvin is here. So this from here you can calculate the volume. Pressure is given. This is the P, and this is given is the T. So once you have this one, you can calculate the density of this system. So remember, specific gravity has the relation with the density of the system or the fluid with the density of water. How you can calculate the specific gravity of the air inside the container? Very simple. You have to density of the air divided by density of the water. Density of air we already know. This one we calculated. With the help of this one, density of the water, I already told you, we normally assume 1000 kilogram per cubic meter. So this one is the specific gravity of the water. So you see here, specific gravity of the water is 0.00117, but no units, because specific gravity has no units. Reason is that these units will cancel out, same units. But this water specific gravity is normally 1. So this is less than 1. That's why air is float in the air. Air is, if you leave open, it can move anywhere because its specific gravity is very, very low than water. Then how we can calculate the mass of air in this container? Mass we can calculate based on our equation. We know density is equal to mass over volume. We already know density is equal to mass over volume. Now you will ask question, why we use the different equations? Here we are using density is equal to P over RT, and here we are using M over RT. So it's depend on the given information, what information you are giving. For example, in this case, question is to calculate the density, and information given was pressure and temperature. In this case, we have to calculate the density, we have to calculate the mass. We need this in our equation, we need the M, value of M. When we want to know the M, this is the only equation that can give us the M. So M, rho is equal to M over V. Rho we already calculated. Volume we can calculate using this equation because all informations are given. And finally, we can say 140 kilogram of air in this room is occupied. So this is how we can use all previous equations to calculate density. Sometime maybe you have to calculate the specific gravity. If you have to calculate the specific gravity and the density is given, just you can divide the density of air, density of water. Then you can calculate the specific gravity. Now we have the viscosity. Viscosity is the fluid behavior to flow. If fluid is moving, from the behavior of the flow, you can identify viscosity. So viscosity is a property that represents internal resistance of a fluid to motion or the fluidity. If the fluid is moving, for example, here the fluid is moving, the internal resistance, what may be internal resistance? Resistance between the fluid within the molecules of the fluids. Internal resistance. So this resistance is not the resistance of the fluid with the solid surface, but actually this one is the resistance within the layers of the fluid. If the fluid is high viscosity, it's difficult to flow. If low viscosity, it can easily move. So for example, if you have the water, and honey, the water has the lower viscosity and honey has the higher viscosity. Because honey cannot move, it has higher resistance to flow. Higher resistance between the molecules and between the layers, so honey cannot move compared to the water. So we can also define as viscosity of a fluid is a measure of its resistance to deformation. Deformation means to change its shape. Honey is very difficult to flow, so honey has a resistance to change its shape as compared to water, because water can easily move. So then there is a term drag force. The force of a flowing fluid exerts on a body in a flow direction. So when the fluid is flowing, it's a resistance to flow, but there is a force on the body that exerts, and with the help of that drag force, fluid is moving. So this magnitude of this force depends in part on the viscosity. If the higher viscosity, there is a higher drag force. If the lower viscosity, there is a lower drag force. Means you need more force for a fluid to move if it is high viscosity. For example, if you have the rubber or you have the honey, rubber has the higher drag force to move because rubber has very high viscosity, it cannot move. So this one, we already discussed the example of the rubber. So we can say here, viscosity is due to the internal frictional force that develops between the layers of a fluid as they are forced to move between each other. So when you have the different layers, they have the internal force between the layers and then the resistance to flow. If no internal force between the layers, it can easily move. If there is more force, it's very hard or difficult to move. So this is how we can define viscosity. So now you say here is some example. You see this one is the oil. This is another type of the fluid. And this is one type of the fluid. Now you can guess which one had the higher viscosity. If you look to this fluid, this is, for example, is oil. Oil is moving normally, no problem, just moving down because internal resistance between the layers is minimum and easy to flow. Here you see in this case, you see it not moving, it's stick together. Even is by force, it is not moving because internal resistance is highest. When there is a more internal resistance, it gives specific shape also. So you see here you have the some type of the tube, and here you have some very thin film. Now we have another example, water. You see no resistance to internal resistance, a very minimum. because it one has the low viscosity. Water has the lowest viscosity, no resistance, easy to move without any shape. Olive oil, for example, is bit higher or medium viscosity compared to water, then it gives some shape because internal layer resistance is more compared to water. Honey has highest viscosity compared to water. That's why honey is not moving. It gives some very smooth flow. Another example of this honey, look here. Honey, the layers are not broken out. Compared to this fluid, you see at the end, very thin layer and then droplet also. Honey cannot give any droplet. So maybe give very big size droplet because the internal resistance between the fluid is very high and the droplet produced will be very big size because they keep together, the fluid keep together and they did not move. If they want to move, they want to move all together due to high viscosity or high internal resistance to flow. Now we can define here the Newton's law of viscosity. This is just for the very brief. So this is what we are talking about. This is the force. You see here, this is the force. If you have the fluid inside these two plates, this one we already discussed. If you have this is the drag force. If you have the high viscosity, this fluid cannot move or need more force to deform. So it means the resistance between the layers is highest and there will be higher boundary layer. There will be more velocity profile because this fluid don't want to move. If this fluid is, for example, water, a low viscosity, it can easily move and you need only a minimum or small force. So this force per unit area we call the shear stress. If the fluid has higher viscosity, it has the higher shear stress. Shear stress is the force per unit area applied to move a fluid. If lower force, lower shear stress, lower viscosity, higher shear stress, higher force and higher viscosity. Also, this boundary layer formation, so this layers formation also depend on the type of the viscosity, internal force between the resistance to flow. If there is more internal force, this boundary layer develop will be minimum. If there is less internal force, this boundary layer formation will be higher. Or you can say here, du and dy pattern formation will be higher if there is a lower viscosity. So this is the same. You can say shear stress is the, you see, shear stress is the proportional is to viscosity multiplied by change in the boundary layer, this du over dy. So this is the dy, this is the dy here, dy, and this is the change in velocity. How, when you change in velocity, how this distance is going to move, means how this boundary layer is developed. This is called shear stress and this constant is called the viscosity. So viscosity is actually a measure of the amount of the force or the amount of the shear stress that will be produced when a drag force is applied on a unit surface. So this is how we can define shear stress, or we can say the definition of the viscosity. So this is the finally this is called the Newton's law of viscosity. So according to the Newton's law of viscosity, if fluid has the higher viscosity, it has higher shear stress, is higher resistance to flow, and it gives you the if you have the more shear stress, look here, you have this is the shear stress, this gives you the gradient du over dy. So what we can say here, Newton's law of viscosity defines the relationship between the shear stress and the shear rate. This is the shear rate. The gradient is how the fluid is going to change. Change of velocity, how this velocity profile is going to change. Okay. So this is also dependent on the temperature and pressure because the viscosity is dependent on temperature and pressure. So this one, we have more discussion in chapter 3 because we have some other discussion there, some problem calculations. So this one is how we can say the viscosity is also very important to determine the shear stress, as shear stress has a relation with the viscosity. Or we can say this is
Doctor, in slide 14, there is angular displacement in the viscosity section. Do we need to know that?
Where? This one.
Slide 14, the one before this line. Yes, this slide.
This one. Okay. Okay, now we are going to start this our, just we can have revision about the viscosity, and then we have this is the same actually. Okay. So actually, why we want to get information about the viscosity? Viscosity itself has not importance in fluid mechanics, because viscosity has directly relation with the other properties. For example, shear stress is dependent on viscosity, density is dependent on viscosity. So fluid behavior is dependent mostly on viscosity. Now you see an example. We have the two terms, shear stress, shear strain, shear stress and shear strain, shear stress and shear strain. So you see here, for example, if you have this block, initially, for example, you have the block here, and this is the rubber block inside the two plates. We already discussed this one. So if when this force is 0, when there is no force, this block is not moving. But when we apply this force to upper plate and lower plate is fixed, what will happen? When the lower plate is fixed, so upper plate will start moving. When this plate will start moving, so because this side is fixed, so it will start moving. Maybe this one is, for example, it can move some distance. So it will move to, for example, it move like this one. So it will have the some distance from the 0. So okay, the distance between two plates, for example, if there is L is distance. See, velocity with the moving is V. So when we apply the force, then there is a U or V, where the plate will start moving. So when this plate will start moving, this block or this plate or anything, it has the resistance to flow. For example, if this one is no resistance, you need very small force, and this plate will move very fast because this plate is fixed with this block. And this block has no resistance to move. Means internal resistance between the layers is minimum. And with the very small force, this block will start moving very fast. But if the internal resistance between the layers is very high, it need very high force for this block to move. How we can say, for example, if you apply this force is equal to, for example, 1 Newton. So this force is 1 Newton per meter square. Okay. Now you see, when you apply this force, there is some formation of, there is some angle here, is produced some angle. This angle we can say, for example, beta, this is the angle here. So what will happen? When you apply force, there is a original position, this one, and this is the angle is formed. So okay, what means by this angle? This angle means when you apply force, this block will start moving. If this angle produced is this, for example, this angle is, for example, this beta is, for example, 10, or this beta is 20, or this beta is 50, for example. Now you can assume or guess from this one, same amount of the force applied here, and you have the different blocks here, different blocks. In one block, when you apply this force, the beta change in angle you get is 10. Another block, the angle is 20. Another block angle is 30. It means with the same force, we are getting different angle. So which block has the more distance travel, or which one has the highest angle? 50 is the highest angle. Means this block has the minimum resistance or minimum internal resistance to flow. In other way, you need very small force. You need very small force to get this block to move to some distance. Compared to you have the very small angle, means your angle is here, means the distance travel is very small. So this angle actually indirectly measure the internal resistance of the fluid to flow. If higher resistance, this angle will be minimum. If the lower resistance, angle will be maximum. Angle will be higher, and the internal resistance, for example, maybe angle is here. It means block moving very fast from compared to initial position, and there's no internal resistance. Means you need very small force for this block to move, and internal resistance between the layers is minimum. Indirectly, you can say this block has the lowest viscosity. So this is how we can say this angle. Now, how we can define? Shear stress is the force per unit area. This is just the force, how much force you are going to apply. What will happen when you apply? The resultant of the shear stress is the shear strain. Shear strain. Shear strain is the displacement, how much displacement you will get when you will apply this force. So this displacement is the change in distance over the length. So this is the length. Length is L. And change in distance is this one. This is the change in distance. Means this angle, how much this angle is going to change, and this how much is this total length. This is called the shear strain. For example, you see here, this one here. This angle is going to calculate using dB is equal to tan dB dA over. So this is the dA. This one is the dA. So this dB is actually, so for example, this is the A or L. This one is, for example, here A and L. Then you can calculate this angle. So it means how we can define during a differential time interval dt. This is the time interval. The slides of the fluid particles along a vertical line M and N. M and N. This is the vertical line M and N. This vertical line M and N rotates through the differential angle dB. Just as you see, they will rotate with the angle dB, while the upper plate move at a differential distance v dt. So because this is the relation with the time. So mean this plate will move with some speed v dt, and this dB is the actually how much distance it will travel. So because with this speed you cannot see how much distance, but with this angle you can measure this one. So this is angle is called angular displacement, or we can say this is the deformation or shear strain. So this can be seen this deformation, shear strain, or you can say how much the block has traveled compared to original distance with the help of this angle. This is called the shear strain. So that's why we can say this is the angular displacement or the deformations. So this all depend on the behavior of this internal resistance to flow. If higher resistance, this angle will be minimum, or you can say angular displacement or shear strain will be minimum. And you need more shear force. You need more shear force to increase the shear strain. So it means if your internal resistance is higher, you with the small shear stress, you can get higher shear strain. If the internal resistance is maximum, with higher force, you will get only this shear strain. So means this one has the relation how you can understand shear stress and shear strain. So then we have this is the same. Okay, why we have to going to study the Newton law of viscosity? So you see here again, once again, this one is the gradient. What is the gradient? Gradient is this change in velocity over change of y distance. What is this y distance? So this is the distance, this one. Sometimes we can say L, this one. Change in velocity over change of Why this is the gradient? That's why we can get this gradient. Before this, we can also call this is the angle dV. So we have the different way to define this one. We can say dV over dy is multiplied with the viscosity, that is absolute velocity, is called the shear stress. And shear strain we can calculate based on the how much distance, how much deformation happen when we apply the shear stress. So it means the Newton's law of viscosity help us to measure the relation between the shear stress and the shear strain. And if there is a constant temperature and pressure, so this is also called the viscosity or coefficient of viscosity. So this is how we can define the relation shear stress, shear strain, viscosity or coefficient of viscosity. But the question here is, why is it important to measure the viscosity, or what is the importance of the viscosity? Now you see here in next slide, why we want to measure the viscosity. Viscosity is very important. You see here how you can calculate viscosity. You can calculate shear stress tau over du over dy. So you see here, this is A, this is the A, and this one is the B. A and B is the actually to calculate the viscosity. So actually you can say viscosity is a slope. In other words, you can say viscosity is a slope. Okay. If you apply shear stress, it means you apply more force. What will happen when you apply more force? Block will travel to move to some distance. You see, if you apply force, block is moving and moving. Our fluid is moving with the more force. So this is the distance du over dy, and this is the tau. Tau over du over dy is a slope. Okay. Now you can see here, oil has higher shear stress, air has the lower shear stress, and water is the lower one, because you see this line is moving up and this line is moving at least linear. This is the lower. So shear stress of the air is low because air needs very small force to move, very low, no internal distance between the layers. That's why. So now important here is the slope. Important here is this slope. You see here, this slope is constant. If you take at any point, maybe the value is different, but this slope is constant. Maybe shear stress for oil is higher, but the shear stress, this slope is constant. You see here, if you see here, so any fluid that follow Newton's law of viscosity means if any fluid give a straight line, does not mean the line is moving up and down, depend on the viscosity. But if this slope is constant, if you select any point, you can get the same slope. That is called that fluid follow Newton's law of viscosity, or we can say this is the Newtonian fluids. Newtonian fluids means fluid follow Newton's law of viscosity, or we can say when we apply more force, it gives the linear relation, and this shear stress is going to increase with the increase of force. du or dy is going to increase, distance is going to increase linearly with the shear stress. So if any fluid who does not follow the Newton's law of viscosity means it cannot give the constant slope, or maybe behavior is not the constant, or means even you can change the temperature or pressure, its behavior is not the constant, that fluid is called non-Newtonian fluids. Non means they have their own behavior. No Newton's law of viscosity they follow. They have their own behavior. They have their own pattern. So you see here, non-Newtonian fluids that do not follow the linear law of Newton's law of viscosity means the slope is constant. Here no slope is constant. For such examples, the fluids maybe have the non-linear curves, or you can say they have the different slopes. Slopes are not constant. I mean slopes are different at the different points. That fluids are the non-Newtonian fluids. Now I can give you the example. For example, here you see here this is the Bingham plastic. You see here initially this fluid has very high viscosity, means when you apply, supposed to be it had to start from 0, but it start from at some distance, means initially when you apply this force or when you apply shear stress, there is no deformation, fluid does not move. Maybe this behavior is from here. Here means when you apply force, you see this behavior is moving up, this behavior is moving down, this is going straight line. So this is the Newtonian fluids. So it is, look you here, Bingham plastic means initially any fluids that did not move even you applied shear stress. After certain force, after certain shear stress, then it can start moving only, and it can start moving linearly. Look here, they start very linear. No viscosity is constant, the slope is constant, but initially it cannot start from the origin. It means there is no rate of deformation when you apply force, and this start deformation after certain force, shear stress. So shear stress initially is begin with the highest shear stress, it start deformation. Newtonian, when you apply force, immediately it start to deform and start moving. Pseudoplastic, another class of the fluid. In pseudoplastic, initially you need more shear stress to move. You see the curve is moving up, means you need more force to move, and after certain force shear stress, it becomes linear, it start moving linear. Some fluids, for example dilatant, they have the behavior different. Initially they move very fast, even with small force their deformation rate is very high, but after certain force they need more force or their deformation going to decrease. It means pseudoplastic initially need higher force to move, Bingham plastic need very high force to move, and dilatant need very low force to move initially, but at the end their behavior is different. So this variation of the shear stress within the rate of deformation for Newton's defined as Newtonian and the non-Newtonian fluids. Newtonian, they will start equally linearly and will continue to deform. Others, non-Newtonian, they have the different patterns, for example, Bingham plastic, pseudoplastic, and dilatant. So this one is the, so you see for dilatant here, they have to, when you can increase the viscosity, the deformation will be increased. Pseudoplastic, the deformation rate will increase, viscosity will decrease. So they have the different fluids are the different example. Here is example is, for example, water and cornstarch mixture and water and the sand mixture. So here is the example of some type of the polymers. So this is how we can say the different fluids have the different behavior, maybe non-Newtonian or non-Newtonian. And then this one is the, they have the 4 classes, Newtonian, and in non-Newtonian they have the 3 classes. Some need very high force to move, shear stress is very high, some need very small, and later on they can have the different behavior. So then this one is the another example. This is how we can say example is the toothpaste. So in such cases, we have to define another constant to define a shear stress. You see here we are adding another constant to convert into non-Newtonian to Newtonian behavior. We have to add another constant. So in previous Newton's law of viscosity, we have only one constant. Here we have the 2 constant, where A and B are and 3 constant, not 2 constant. You have the 3 constant. Also we are constant here. So it means this N will depend on the behavior. This B is similar to the viscosity, and A is the additional constant. So A and N are the additional to convert this non-linear behavior to the linear behavior. So for example, When n is equal to 1, substance is called Bingham plastic, and such as toothpaste had the behavior of the Bingham plastic, means initially need high force and later on need low force to move. So you say here also, so you can in toothpaste you can say they resist a finite shear stress. Initially they did not move, they resist to move and then behave as a solid initially, but later on their behavior is different and they start deform continuously, and when the shear stress is exceeded the yield stress and thus behave as a fluid. Initially behave like a solid, they did not move, and finally they start moving and behave like a fluid. So now you see the how we can apply this one, the viscosity and temperature, this is our information and this knowledge, to the different type of the fluids. For example, if you are going to increase the temperature here, for example, you have the 100 and the different units, what will happen when you increase the temperature? Viscosity of the liquid is going to decrease and viscosity of the gases is going to increase. So this is very strange, because supposed to be viscosity of the gases has to decrease also, but it's going to increase. But viscosity of the liquid is going to decrease with the increase of temperature. So viscosity of the fluids may be decrease or may be increase depending on the type of the fluids. So it means we cannot say when we increase temperature, viscosity will decrease or increase. It depends on the type of the fluids. If the gases, viscosity will increase. If the liquid, viscosity will decrease. So we can say here, when you increase temperature, viscosity will decrease because the resistance between the fluids are resistant to motion or resistant to flow will decrease. Internal resistance between the layers is going to move. This is the reason, because the molecules will start moving very fast and interaction between the molecules will decrease and the layers resistance will decrease and finally viscosity will reduce. In the case of gas, you see here, if you increase temperature, there is a random molecule activity increase. So it means vibration between the molecules will increase when they will strike together. Maybe they will strike with each other, and when the walls of the container, it means they have more interaction with each other. And when their interaction increase, it means resistance to flow increase or viscosity increase. So it means when you increase the viscosity of the gases, the molecules vibrations or interaction or intermolecular forces increase, and finally viscosity will increase. This is how we can define the viscosity and the effect of temperature and pressure. Kinematic viscosity is actually the viscosity over density. This is the normally we use to know the behavior of the viscosity and the density, and this term is called kinematic viscosity. So this they have the same. If you know viscosity and density of a specific fluid, you can easily calculate the density and viscosity. You can calculate the kinematic viscosity, because sometimes we have to make the relation of the different the fluids based on their kinematic viscosity, or you can say we have to understand the behavior of the fluids together based on their density and the viscosity, because the density behavior is different, mass of the volume. Density did not involve the viscosity and viscosity did not involve the density. So that's why when we know you want to investigate the fluid behavior together based on their mass or based on their mass and resistance to flow, then we can calculate the kinematic viscosity. This is normally we use for the crude oils, heavy fluids, and then we can easily say how much resistance they had to flow and how much they had the mass. Okay, then we have this is the same, the kinematic viscosity. Okay, now just we have a few more things to before we can finish this chapter. The vapor pressure and the boiling point. So vapor pressure and boiling point we already discussed. Every fluid has their vapor pressure. So vapor pressure has no relation of the temperature. Remember, vapor pressure is the pressure. Every fluid or every liquid has the vapors at the surface. You see here you have the vapors. Here you have the vapors. Every fluid has the vapors at the surface and they have the pressure. You see, every fluid has the vapor at the surface, even at any temperature, and that vapors has some specific pressure over the surface, and that is called the vapor pressure. Means vapors exert pressure over the surface of the fluid. For example, if the liquid has a low boiling point, if the fluid has a low boiling point, if any fluid has the low boiling point, it has the more vapor pressure, because at lower boiling point, liquid can easily evaporate and all the vapors will come into the liquid become the vapors. At lower boiling point, it means vapor will exert more force over the surface. Any fluid at high boiling point has the low vapor pressure. So means based on the vapor pressure, you can see which fluid has the higher boiling point and which one has the lower boiling point. So we can say the pressure exerted by its vapor in phase equilibrium with the liquid. We can say this one is with the liquid at a given temperature is called the vapor pressure. It is identical to the saturated pressure, P saturated, of the liquid. So it means PV or P saturated both are the same. Other term that partial pressure is different. Partial pressure is the pressure that has of a specific component inside the mixture. For example, you have the 3-4 fluids together. You have the gas or the vapors mixture. If they mix together, then every vapor or every gas mixture has their own pressure. So individual pressure is called the partial pressure, and the vapor pressure is called the total pressure of the vapors that is exerted at the surface of the fluid surface. So this is how we can define difference between the vapor pressure and the partial pressure. And the partial pressure, vapor pressure is also dependent on the boiling point. If fluid has very high boiling point, it has the lower vapor pressure, and the lower vapor pressure, so they have the higher boiling point. So means both have the opposite relation. Now we have this cavitation. This cavitation I just want to skip. This one we will discuss in chapter 14. Don't worry, this one we will discuss in chapter 14. Okay, no more discussion cavitation here. No cavitation. Okay, this is surface tension and surface tension. Okay, we can discuss. Surface tension. Surface tension is actually, you see here, the intensity of the molecule attraction per unit length along a line, any line in a surface. You see here, the fluid is at the surface, and every fluid has the molecules, and molecules have the interaction with each other. If due to this interaction, they give this curve to the surface. Look here. They give to the surface, and also they can produce the droplet because they have the interaction between each other. Due to this each other, the molecules give you some specific shape due to the surface tension. So some fluids, you see, some fluid surface is like this one. Some fluid surface is like this one. So this is depend. If molecules have more interaction between each other, they have the more surface tension, then they give you like this shape. If the interaction between the molecule and the surface is more, then they give this like this shape. The lower meniscus, this is the upper meniscus. Okay. Then how we can define the intensity of the molecule's attraction per unit length along any line at the surface? The coefficient of the surface tension, the magnitude of this force per unit length. This is called the Newton per minute. So if there is less surface tension, then there is no droplet form. If there is higher surface tension, the droplet produced will be large size. That's why the water has the droplet, the spherical droplet, due to the surface tension between the molecules of the water. So this is, you see here, the surface tension gives a specific shape to the surface. Due to surface tension, we can say there is when you drop water, it can give some shape. repulsive forces from the interior molecules causes the liquid to minimize its surface tension and attain a spherical shape. So it means if the internal resistances are minimum and interaction is more, so then this can give you the spherical shape. That's why we can say how we can get the spherical shape due to this, the interaction and the surface tension behavior. So this one you can read this one. This is just different example. The drop of the blood. Then you can see the water droplets, the liquid fuel injections, so bubbles. So they have the different shapes due to their different surface tensions. So then you have the capillary action. Capillary action is actually the rise or a fall of a liquid.
Doctor, we cannot hear you, doctor.
Your mic is muted, doctor.
Okay. Okay, can you hear? Is it okay now?
Yes, it's okay.
Yes, we can hear now, doctor.
Okay, so now you have the capillary action. This capillary action is actually defined how much level of a water can rise inside the tube when you insert this tube inside the container. So you see here, lower diameter gives you more capillary action and the higher diameter can reduce the capillary action. So then we can define how we can define capillary action. So capillary action is the rise or a fall of a liquid in a small container diameter into liquid. So it means it's not every time. So this is, you see the meniscus is a surface. So this surface, look here, this is the lower meniscus, means it's moving like this, it's like this one. It's like this. So it may be upper meniscus like this one. Not every time this liquid will rise, sometime it will also be fall. How this looks like? Here, you see here, if you are using mercury, you see this is the upper meniscus, and mercury, when you insert this capillary tube, the level of the liquid drop, and here you can see the level of liquid is going to increase. Here you see the different tubes have the different diameter, because the mercury, the internal resistance between the molecules or the surface tension is very high compared to water. That's why due to higher surface tension, the capillary cannot rise inside the tube, but water has the lower interaction surface tension compared to the interaction between the walls and the water. That's why water can rise inside the tube. But here the interaction between the wall and mercury is less compared to the mercury itself. That's why mercury cannot rise inside the tube. This is how we can say the useful or application of the surface tension. So this is another example. You can see here the different examples of this surface tension. So this, you can see the meniscus here, the different meniscus, you can get the different height. This depend all on the type of the property of this fluid and also the size of this diameter and the meniscus. Sometimes you have the lower meniscus or maybe you have the higher meniscus. Okay. Then you have the, you see here the diameter. If diameter is going to change, this meniscus is going to, the rise is going to change, but the meniscus is there, lower meniscus. But this one is like this shape is called upper meniscus, but the mercury cannot rise inside the GG. Reason behind is, look here. Look here. Mercury has very strong intermolecular interaction as compared to water, which has the more interaction. Attractive forces between the walls and water is higher as compared to water molecule itself. In mercury, attractive forces between the wall and mercury are lower compared to the mercury itself. That's why we can say, which you can get lower meniscus and higher meniscus. So this is the some example how the capillary action and how it can happen.
Doctor.
Yes.
It is 4 and someone have another class.
Okay. Oh, sorry. Okay. So we can stop at the, I think this is the last slide. Okay. Thank you so much and sorry. That's all for today.